Alright guys, so for today I'm going to go ahead and create for you a Rocket Arena knockout tier list. I think the best way to do this was basically divide it up between the different game modes and stuff like that. Because different characters I think are better in certain game modes. So in order to really make it more accurate, I think the best way to do it is by each mode. Because just their skills and abilities, some of them are a lot better I think in different game modes, and we can get into that later. But the first one we're going to do today is we're going to go through our knockout tier list, right? So knockout is basically the game mode where the first group, it's just two different teams. First one to get 20 points wins, or the time runs out, and whoever has the highest amount of points wins the match, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go through what I believe is basically my own personal tier list of characters and stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start us off. I'm going to start from the bottom, guys. And I know probably some people are upset about seeing Flux on the bottom, but let's just be honest. Her kit isn't that great. I mean, she has some good abilities, but everybody else does what she does and that much better, right? It's easy just to Q out of one of her abilities. She only has 3 shots on her left click. She could definitely use a buff or two. Maybe well, I don't want to get too much into it, but one thing would be easily for me would be her shots. She only has 3. In my opinion, she should maybe have like 5 or so, just to put her, a little tier ahead. She's really good about getting away and stuff like that, but stealing kills and getting away, I mean, she's pretty easy to fight against. I don't necessarily like fighting Fluxes because they're very evasive, but I will say that fighting one is never really a challenge. The next up we got Plink. Plink is a great finisher, I think, but as far as damage output and stuff like that, I mean, I'm never really scared of a Plink. The scariest thing about a Plink is sort of when he's hitting you and just the disruption on the hit effect, right? So when Plink actually shoots at you and you get hit by his shots, your character kind of is in this, it's not necessarily a hit stun per se, but it's definitely this weird state of like, you're kind of shaking and stuff like that, if you will. So, but overall, I mean, his damage output is kind of mediocre. I just kind of crush them, not a big deal. And next up, we actually have Boon here as well. Boon, he does a decent amount of damage and stuff like that, but he really needs a team to protect him. That's why I think for different types of game modes, he's a lot better because knockout, it's kind of determined by who gets the first kill and then who keeps killing, right? And then normally, if you're really good, you can kind of keep their team down and only have one at a time because people will just run at you one at a time for whatever reason, right? They don't wait for their teams. They're like, all right, I'm going to run in now that I'm back up. So constant 1v3s, and Boon's just really to wreck, I think, as well. I don't think that's too much of a shocker for you. Next up, though, is actually Blastbeard, and I think that might be a shocker for some people. Just because, he's a strong character, I think, but stealing kills and getting kills, I mean, yeah, if you're really good at Blastbeard, yeah, you can definitely do that, right? But a lot of people aren't that great about landing his shots. So I think he's okay. I'd prefer somebody else to play something. If I see a Blastbeard, I would kind of consider someone else to play. Okay, and next up we have Mistine. I think Mistine's a great character overall. We still, in my opinion, haven't seen the full potential of Mistine. I mean, I think eventually she could go up here. But as of right now, I'm just going to put her in A, just because in general she's a strong character. She has a strong kit. She's mildly evasive. She does a fair amount of damage. She can shield her stuff. She's just good. Nothing too special. All right, next up, Izel. And yeah, I think she's a great character. Nothing too special. She definitely on her left click, she does a lot of damage, right? So she's pretty good about killing people. Her shift is pretty strong, but the biggest problem is you got to be careful with your shift and not getting yourself out. I feel like a really good one definitely will destroy you because her shots are very accurate and she does a lot of damage. So against a good one in knockout, it's very difficult. Next up, I actually have Jado here. And Jado, this is probably the highest tier you'll ever see him because overall his kit basically pertains around getting a kill, in my opinion, right? You want to get a kill as Jado and just keep going. But as far as other game modes and stuff like that, his kit doesn't really help his team out. His kit just kind of gets kills. So that's why I put him in A tier on here. I think he's just a strong character, right? When I play Jada, if I 1v1 people, I'm very confident. The only we'll get into that later as well, but There's very few people I don't really like to 1v1 against is Jado. Most of the cast I'd welcome a 1v1 in, or an even match knockout. That is right. So we have Jada there. All right, next up, originally I had Top Notch and S, but I will say after playing 2v2 with Knockout, with Top Notch, I think he's more map specific than he is. So I'm gonna go ahead. I think he's a strong character. I know a lot of people say he's overpowered, blah blah blah, but I mean he has two skills, and if you dodge those skills, his left click is good if somebody lands their shots, but the shots are very inaccurate, right? So I mean, most people just die from his cooldowns, I think, and they just don't see them. You know, they're just not very aware, I think, of what's going on in the battlefield to basically dodge them. I will say overall, though, Top Notch probably does get the most damage in games like that. So as far as like the A tier, he's definitely, he's getting close to S. But I mean, is he really S tier? I mean, I don't know. I mean, in 2v2s, not so much. I'll tell you that right now. 3v3s when he can, as two people kind of protecting him, yeah, he can be good, and especially map specific. I think Boon and Top Notch get really good on certain maps, in my opinion. I think that some maps really cater towards them, and that makes them all that much more powerful. All right, now S tier should be pretty obvious right now. And I don't think M4 is a big dispute. I think everyone thinks M4 is very strong. She has a lot of great skills. Everything about her kit is just great. She's great for every mode. She's pretty much S tier in everything, right? She can shift to get out of things. She can shift to kill people. She can shift to basically gain sort of additional durability, if you will. She has a right click that's basically an auto aim assist that wrecks people. She's infinite ammo, which kind of gets overlooked as well. And she also can hold down her triggers and just do a ton of damage and increase her ball size. And I mean, she's just great overall. All right, next up to Kai, and she's just great overall. I think with getting kills, but somebody's really good with her. Someone's really accurate. They're staying in their bubble and they're actually getting the kills. I think she's one of the best characters in the game. Every time I see one of these, I just want to run away because it's really difficult to get shots in there. Hard counter is Blastbeard. You know what I mean? But not everyone's playing Blastbeard. So, when she's in her little bubble, you're trying to kill her in there. And, if a good one's in there, she can just keep dodging all the shots while staying in there. So it just makes it really difficult. And last up, we just have Rev, because Rev's just the best, one of the best characters in the game, right? I'd say it's like sort of this order for the best three in the game overall. But Rev, her kit's great. She can shift on people when they're at half health, right click everywhere, throw grenades everywhere, right? Because that's another thing. In other game modes, her right click, basically her little grenade things, they won't really stay on the map. But she can have, I believe, up to 3 different ones on the map, so you can kind of keep those everywhere. And I get countless kills just by leaving those up on the map. People just run into them and just die, and I'm like, nope, got another kill. I don't know what he's doing, but he just ran into that. So that's kind of my overall tier list. I'd like to hear what you guys think as well. If you'd like to go ahead, hit subscribe there on YouTube. Go ahead, leave something in the comments. Obviously this is a big debate, and everyone's welcome to disagree with me, but this is just my opinion. Feel free to leave your comments. Thanks so much for watching this, checking this out, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good day.